All right, does the Bible say here that Jesus was angry? Yeah, he was angry. Did he lose his temper? No. Why was he angry? Does it tell us? At the hardness of their hearts. Here was this man who had a paralyzed hand, and he's in a synagogue, but it's the Sabbath day, and they were all looking around saying, oh, if he heals him, then we'll have some reason to accuse him. They don't care at all about the man. All they're looking for is evidence to use against him. And so he was grieved at the hardness of their hearts for the lost. They didn't care about the person. When they brought Mary to Jesus in the temple, and she was caught in the act of adultery, Jesus was grieved that they were willing to use this woman to trap him. They didn't care about her. They were ready to stone her so they could then go to the Romans and accuse Christ of issuing the death penalty. But they didn't care about the woman. And so often in the church, and this still happens, church leaders are not really interested about saving the people. They're interested in their positions and their power and their influence. And that grieves the Lord. It makes him angry. Didn't Jesus get into a soliloquy of talking about the scribes and the Pharisees? Hypocrites, he called them. Why did he call them hypocrites? He was angry that their hard hearts and that they were deceiving the people. They didn't care about the people. They cared about the pretense of religion instead of the genuine. And so there was a time for this righteous anger. Is it a sin to be angry? Not necessarily. The Bible speaks about Ephesians 4 verse 6. Be angry and do not sin. Let not the sun go down on your wrath. He says, doesn't say don't ever have wrath. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. There are things that will make you angry. Do you ever see in the Bible where Paul got angry? Paul called the high priest a whited sepulcher one time. Because here he hit him. He commanded him to be struck contrary to the law. Paul wasn't angry that he got hit. He was angry that you sit in a position to judge me and you're breaking the law that you're supposed to judge me by. So there's a time for righteous thing. If you see children or an aged person being mugged and beaten, does it make you angry? Well, it should. I mean, if you've got the Spirit of God and you see the weak and the old being oppressed, then an indignation, a pure, holy, righteous indignation might rise within you that they be protected. When you see somebody blaspheming God or abusing holy things, does that anger you? It should. If you love God and you see somebody... Did it anger David when Goliath was mocking God? It was a righteous indignation. So that's appropriate. But most of us have the other kind of anger where we're angry because we're not getting our way. Or, someone is threatening us. Jesus never got angry because someone hit him. You notice the difference? That's where most of us get angry. That chemicals are released and the blood rushes to our face and we want to lash out and get even. You hurt me, I'll hurt you. Or we get frustrated because we're not getting our way or something's going wrong or we're having to go through 3 red lights before we can get through the intersection. Pound on the steering wheel. It's not righteous indignation. It's just our impatience, we're not getting our way. So the Bible talks about that. There's the wrong kind of anger. Before I get to that, let me read one more verse to you. And I haven't forgotten, I gave some other verses out. Hebrews 3 verse 10. God says, therefore I was angry with that generation because of the hardness of their hearts. And I said, they do always go astray in their heart, and they have not known my ways. After all God did to save them, they just spurned his grace and his instruction, and they went astray in their hearts. What's the wrong kind of anger? Galatians 5:19 and 20. Now the works of the flesh are evident. This is not the righteous spiritual anger. This is the fleshly anger. Adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousy. Here it is. Outbursts of wrath. You ever seen somebody lose their temper? By the way, when a person loses their temper, who finds it? The devil. I think when a person misplaces their self-control and they lose their temper, they are at least temporarily demon-possessed. Haven't you seen people when they fly off the handle? I mean, it's like at least momentary demonic possession. And they say things that are not logical or mean. And they do things that are often destructive. A bad temper is a costly commodity. You ever seen people lose their tempers and they start throwing their keyboard around or something because the computer's not working? Somebody emailed me a clip one time. This office had video footage of its employees. This one employee was pounding on his keyboard because it wouldn't do what he said, and he just totally flew into a rage. He didn't know that he was on the security camera in the office. Pretty soon he's banging it with his fist, and then he throws it across the office against the wall, company property. You wonder if he still had a job the next day. He's got angry because the computer locked up. I've known that feeling before, but I've never thrown my computer. I felt like it, but that just makes it worse. All right, who did I give this to? Proverbs 16:32.
Who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city.
You notice it's not even saying don't ever be angry. It's saying be what? Slow to anger. James 1:19.
Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God.
You know, when you lose your temper, it usually also does not indicate great intelligence. People don't usually say the most intelligent things when they're angry. Matter of fact, I heard someone say one time, the more shallow the water in the pot, the quicker it boils. You get that? When the water in the pot is shallow, it boils quicker. If a person is a little deeper, a little more intelligent, it takes longer to boil. We should be slow to wrath. Ecclesiastes 7 verse 9. Do not hasten in your spirit to be angry, for anger simmers or rests in the bosom of fools. People that just start flying off the handle, so to speak, and stomping around, they often resort to profanity, and they do and say a lot of things that when you're thinking you'd never do. It's a lack of thought. Anger also leads to murder. Sometimes anger on the inside is simmering, and Jesus talks about that in Matthew 5:21. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. Now, why did Jesus say who is ever angry with his brother without a cause? Is there ever a cause to be angry? Yeah. When was Jesus angry at the disciples? Well, he didn't really say he was angry, but he was grieved when they argued among themselves which of them was the greatest. When the mothers wanted to bring the children to Jesus for him to bless them, and the disciples said, no, he's too busy, and they were sending the mothers and the children away, Jesus was grieved by that. And so there is a time to maybe be frustrated with people, but when you're thinking homicidal thoughts in your mind, you can commit adultery in your mind, and you can commit murder in your mind, is what Jesus is saying. It's not just an action, it's an attitude. Now, does the Lord ever get angry? Is it righteous? Revelation 6:16. This will be my last verse on this subject, then we'll move on. The wicked, the lost, say to the rocks and the mountains, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. You know what an oxymoron is? Oxymoron. I didn't know for years, and I heard a preacher talk about oxymorons. I started studying it. I'd heard them all my life. They're two words, a phrase, that contradict each other, like jumbo shrimp. That doesn't make sense to oxymoron. It's the conflicts, or military intelligence. It doesn't make sense. If you've been in the military, you know what I mean. Or someone one time said, woman driver. There's just two things that don't go. The women are shaking their head. The men are going, it's okay. I'm not going to patronize the women today. But someone didn't say that. The wrath of the Lamb? A wrathful lamb? I was attacked yesterday by what?